Hello everybody. Welcome to our pre-Scorpio full moon webinar. We're really within the field. Tomorrow afternoon GMT, which is quite early in the morning here in the United States, we will have the actual full moon, which will be at 3:15 and 42 seconds GMT in the afternoon. And for now, we're getting warmed up for this very important sign, the sign of humanity, the fourth grade of hierarchy, the sign which promises constant struggle until there is conquest, the triumph of the soul, the triumph of the spirit. And we certainly need this greatly in our present world condition. We've just had, as many of you will know, an eclipse directly on Saturn in Scorpio. That was on November 3rd, around 11 degrees plus of Scorpio. And that's an amazing event because Saturn in Scorpio is so challenging anyway, forcing us to confront the Hydra within ourselves, no evasion there, and the eclipse adds its tremendous power, a kind of do-or-die component to the whole process. We must confront in humanity that which is negative, and certainly within ourselves that is also required. Let's see here. This is the Scorpio banner. The color given by the Tibetan, at least used by him in some of the meditations with his own groups, crimson. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. The orthodox ruler is Mars, and so is the esoteric ruler. The hierarchical ruler is Mercury, ruling the Buddhic plane. So it's really the transition, particularly from the emotional plane to the Buddhic plane via the mind. Pluto was also involved as a special ruler here, and the Tibetan speaks of this often. And even at that time, the book was written well in the early 30s, and Pluto had just been discovered, and he speaks of Pluto frequently in relation to this sign. So eventually, the human hierarchy will return to its own true focus on the Buddhic plane. That is where its monads express particularly, and Mercury allows that type of ascension into the world of harmony. So from the world of severe conflict under Mars, and even though Mercury is also the star of conflict in a certain way, it has its harmony aspect in the light of pure reason on the Buddhic plane. We have here the St. George and the dragon. The dragon can be the dragon of matter. It can also be the great dragon that is the planetary logos, or any of the planetary loci. That's one dragon we don't slay. We seek to become minor dragons of wisdom. As masters, we are minor dragons of wisdom, even as the planetary logos is the true dragon of wisdom. But here is the serpent of matter, the dragon of matter, which St. George, I suppose, is the symbol of the triumphant soul, is slaying. Really, the scorpion is one expression of this sign, but so is the eagle, flying high above and having transcended and equivalent in a way to the eagle, the constellation of the eagle found in Capricorn. There's a very close connection between Scorpio and Capricorn, and really the work of Scorpio is consummated in Capricorn, even as Leo is released through Scorpio. So we're moving into the consciousness of the soul, and eventually that soul triumphs completely. This is the sign of death and rebirth. The little child there representing the new life is holding the skull, representing the old. There's a constant cycle, death turning into life, turning into death, and so forth, in the endless progression and ascension of man. This is one of the material signs. It's an M for matter, along with Virgo, but there's a rising out of matter through the ability to put to death the lower self. The personality dies in this sign, especially when the moon is in Scorpio, and this particular sign is very much connected with the second initiation, even though it's found in all the first three initiations. And it has a special, I think, connection with the destruction of the causal body at the fourth initiation. So it is, I think, found in all four. The fourth initiation is ruled by the fourth ray, and that is primarily distributed by Scorpio. It's an alchemical sign. It's connected with the greatest dragon of all, who is Draco, and is, in a sense, the ascended cosmic Kundalini, a completed alchemy in the cosmic sense. We all of us have to transform the death of our consciousness into true livingness, and we are in a world submerged in the 18 lower subplanes, the dense physical body of the planetary logos. We are submerged. Our consciousness is dead, in a sense, and we'll ascend into life transitionally through the planes of the soul, the causal body, and actually into the livingness that we all desire and aspire towards once reaching the Buddhic plane, which Scorpio rules, and its hierarchical ruler rules as well. So there are these transformative powers deep within ourselves, and the serpent of matter must be transformed into the serpent of spirit. I'd like to look here at, Francis has prepared some text for us, and also some images. I'm going to, this is showing an ascension here. As you see, the Ancient One dies by drowning. The personality is drowned, and there is a ascension of the soul spirit filled individual. And also we have here the image of the phoenix. He's put two of these images together to discuss them both, and I will discuss a little bit of the tradition. Each one of us is to become a phoenix rising out of our own ashes. Self-immolation is what we face, but it's the lower self that's immolated, and the higher self is released, and we become angelic in our nature, and we liberate the solar angel to return to the heart of the sun, or perhaps to the central spiritual sun in some cases. So we have that, and we have this, and Francis will speak of these things. Here, the old commentary passage describes the experience we see unfolding. It's called ascension. There is, of course, there are many types of ascension, and the final ascension, as far as we're concerned, is the ascension to the sixth plane, or even the ascension to the seventh. But a kind of ascension occurs at the fourth degree, when we are liberated from the need anymore to incarnate, at least in the present human form. It's not a requirement, although it can be chosen for service purposes. The Ancient One, i.e. the personality, dies by drowning. Such is the test. The waters envelop him, the waters of space, the matter, the lower 18 subplanes. Matter is water, and there is no escape. So, as Francis says, notice the figure here beneath the waters, okay, and somewhat outlined in red, which is in a way a lower type of color as well as a high one, because it indicates the nature of the desire, following which we find ourselves submerged. The fires of passion are then quenched. The life of desire ceases its appeal, and to the bottom of the lake he now descends. Later he reascends to where the white horse, i.e. Sagittarius, awaits his coming after a drastic purification. The DK always refers to the drastic experiences we find in Scorpio, and especially, in preparation for the second initiation. So many disciples are today looking forward to that initiation, which indicates the control of the passions of the astral body and the general desire nature. This passage represents, as Francis, the shift from the personality to soul identification, which the Tibetan tells us is the consummating experience of Scorpio. Having to fight the 9 heads which keep us identified as a personality, we finally rise above that type of identification. Re-identification is the theme in both images, but if we mentally place the phoenix on top of the ascension, so just imagine that, you see. Here's the ascension, and here is the phoenix, so we can understand that the ascension will lead to the liberation which the phoenix represents. We see that it has an archetypal correspondence to that which it overlays, the phoenix overlaying the ascending one. We are all the ascending one, in a sense. The red-clad drowned figure, which represents the personality, becomes Mars itself, in the lower sense, which in Scorpio rules the threefold personality. The moon, or outer form, gives way to the sun. Well, the moon, interestingly, falls in the sign Scorpio. And we have the hierarchical Mercury and the fallen moon. So the lower 18 subplanes finally give way to the solar light, starting at the 19th subplane, counting from below. The moon, or outer form, gives way to the sun, the 19th tarot card, interestingly enough. Here shown is the illuminating solar vitality of the phoenix, and we see that. The sun in the center, of course, you see an ascending figure in the center, don't you? He's becoming more and more angelic all the time. I mean, is it man or is it angel? Is it the human being or is it the chalice? Maybe both as we go. Okay. The upturned hands and gaze of the disciple become an embodied chalice, yes. But now the disciple is one with that which he or she receives from the inner wellspring. The fixed cross becomes the trefoil, and we'll let you look at that. We won't describe that. The human form gives way to the geometry of the soul, and the transformative influence of Sirius becomes increasingly dominant. So we have a very important connection there with Sirius and Scorpio and Mars, and the hierarchy, really. Excuse me. Okay. So the disciple's winged heart has ignited the clear, cold fire of mind, and even of the Buddhic plane, which is, I suppose, the real clear, cold fire of the intuition, and thus through all these changes, the disciple becomes the phoenix initiate. And you kind of see that here. You see this incredible winged heart, you see. This is the ascending winged heart, and at the fourth degree, the cross is really the symbol. The fourth ray is the ray, and Scorpio perhaps relinquishes its usual testing potency, but it does have a different kind of potency, that of destroying identification with the lower worlds and overcoming the death of consciousness. And, well, there's many beautiful things here that we could describe, and the phoenix here is discussed in the old commentary in this passage. I think I will read it, actually, because it's really lovely from the old commentary, and I think you'll get the idea, right? The lower chalice rises like a flower of color dark or somber. Dull it appears to the outer vision, but within a light will sometimes shine and shatter the illusion. Chalice the second, see, so that was the physical plane, right? Chalice the second rises from out the lower sheath, as does the flower from out the calyx green. Of color rose it is, and many shades thereof, and to the onlooker it seems as if the color might transcend the inner shining light. But this is but illusion, which time itself dispels. Chalice the third surmounts all and opens wide in time its outspread petals. This, of course, is the higher mental plane, or the mental plane considered as a whole. Blue does it appear, and blends with the rose, forming at first a deep impenetrable shade, which shuts out the light. Well, the mind shuts out the light of the monad, is what he's saying here. Even the soul does that at first, until the inner synthesis petals unfold. Within the three, deep hidden in the heart, tiny at first, yet ever waxing greater, shines the light divine. This is the light of spirit, the monad. This light, through radiating heat and innate divine vibration, constructs for itself a sheath of iridescence. Within this iridescent sheath burns the inner flame, the central fire, and in its turn it burns out the lower gross material. E'en as the path is neared, clearer the light shines out. Forth through the chalice gross and dark that forms the foundation shines the light supernal. We are all light supernal at our very essence, till all who see the radiation cry out within themselves, "Behold, a God is here." We all have to learn that we are immortal gods in our spirit nature, and this the tests and trials of Scorpio eventually reveals. Forth from the chalice rosy red shines the inner glow, till soon the red of earth desire becomes the glow of heaven's fire, and all is lost save aspiration that shades not the cup, with karmic color. Aspiration does not bring karma. Forth from the chalice blue shines and glows the inner light divine, till all the forms are burnt and gone, and naught is left save one divine abstraction. So this is the final end of the monad. And I'll just let you, read this. It's up on the screen. And when you get this, all of you are on the list, and we'll send it out to you. You can read further. Francis tells us about the phoenix that the ancient Egyptian papyri tell us that the Bennu bird, the Egyptian phoenix, burst forth from the heart of Osiris, thus giving form to Ra, the Egyptian sun god. We all become sun gods in a microcosmic sense. Through the Book of the Dead, the phoenix says, I am the Bennu bird, the heart soul of Ra. Some of the titles of the Bennu bird were He who came into being by himself, and the Ascending One. Excuse me. Its name was also a verb spelled WBN in the Egyptian texts, meaning to rise brilliantly, and so forth. You can read this yourself. And finally, there is the conclusion. In Scorpio, the result of all the struggles carried forward during the seemingly endless pilgrimage around the zodiac or wheel of life is brought to a point of climax. It is in this sign that the prodigal son comes to himself, and having eaten of the husks of life, and having exhausted the resources of worldly desire and ambition, he says, I will arise and go to my father. So here, the exalted Uranus in Scorpio tells us something about the turning around, the repentance, the turning the other way, the reversal of the wheel with great will and determination and with an illumined mind. This is from Esoteric Astrology, page 208, and we have here, Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. It's a wonderful sign, and maybe some people try to avoid too much experience in this sign. As Master DK said, well, if you're not having a crisis, why aren't you having one? Make your own crises, and if the spirit is driving forward in an irresistible manner, the crises will arise, because whenever matter and spirit are confronted with each other, spirit must at first prevail, only to discover that matter is spirit as well, as H.P. Blavatsky has told us. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yes, my friend Robert Burrell sent in some of these images that he uses in his beautiful CDs and books, speaking of initiation fire from heaven. And so some of the qualities of Scorpio are to reorient to soul life, a drastic reorientation. There we have the reversal again, which is Uranus, and preparing for initiation, which Capricorn confers. But really, all three initiations, the first three initiations are associated also with Scorpio, even though more the second initiation with Scorpio. And sensitivity to the plan, which is even progressing in Capricorn, connected with Saturn and the atmic plane. And here is, this is the same sort of image we had before. The heart is blazing away, and the fourth grade of hierarchy, which is really the ninth when the higher hierarchies are considered, is represented here. So the overcoming of the lower number 9, in a sense, by the Buddhic plane, the number 4. And right now we do have Saturn in Scorpio, so Father Saturn up there is quite fitting. It's a member of the fixed cross, and about the fixed cross, we have what is called the blinding light of Taurus, the fiery pain of Leo, the bitter woe of Scorpio, and the liberation of Aquarius. And here we have the way that leads to the mountain. The mountain is reached perhaps archetypally in Capricorn, but along the way we struggle via Scorpio. And the final result here of our tests and our trials is our triumph. Test, trial, and triumph, and we have struggle, strength, and Sagittarian attitudes finally are achieved. All right, that's a little roundup about this wonderful sign, which, just because you're a human being, let's just say that Scorpio is with you. Simply because you're a member of the fourth grade of hierarchy, there's no way to escape being influenced by this sign of struggle on this planet, which has so much to do with Scorpio, being the planet of major pain in our solar system, along with Mars and along with Saturn, but the Scorpio is even more effective in a sense on our particular planet in the midst of its crucifixion. We're undergoing kind of a fourth initiation on our planetary chain and on our globe, particularly planetary locus is undergoing that kind of crucifixion, leading to his true cosmic second initiation. So if we are struggling, it's because we're human, because we're under Scorpio, and as the Master DK said, see that you battle. See that you battle. It's not a bad thing to have the right kind of conflict in one's life. Yeah, the right kind of conflict. Okay, which means not just conflict within the personality sphere, but identifying as the soul, and the conflict arises as the normal personality opposes that kind of soul domination. I've often thought, well, I mean, perhaps the soul ray of humanity is now the fourth, maybe its personality is the fifth, but it's heading towards a second ray soul and a fourth ray personality, DK tells us, and considering its rather destructive nature when compared to the Deva kingdom, I would say that the monadic ray of humanity is the destroyer. This is my feeling about it, and it would be very identified with the first ray monad of our particular planet, at least our humanity. I don't know about other humanities on other planets, but they do exist. But I do believe here on this planet we're very much identified spirit, in terms of spirit, with the first ray. And let's just say Scorpio is so Herculean in a way, if you think about it. It's got a huge fourth ray of conflict, but if you look behind it all, and unspoken and ungiven, there's a first ray associated with this sign, and hence the power to triumph at last, as the first ray does. Okay, friends, that's a bit of a roundup, my 20-minute roundup. Speaking a little fast, but you can study that all later, as we build towards the full moon tomorrow, the exact full moon, and we'll be offering an exact full moon service meditation. My wife Tuya will be offering that, and you can join us then hopefully at what would it be? It's join us at 2 o'clock p.m. GMT. It'll be a little early in the United States for some, but okay, anything has to be done to make the full moon moment, participate in it. DK says, don't let anything stand in the way of doing that. All right, well, we're in this day of dedication, we might say, confidence, aspiration, dedication, and then comes a 12 hour before the actual full moon, so maybe more like 3:15 a.m. GMT is coming the day of safeguarding, receiving, and holding, and then following the days of distribution, registration, the sense of expectancy, and finally a confirmed belief. Okay, so let us work together now. I'm very happy we have quite a few gathered here, maybe, I don't know, some 60 people, and a goodly group, and we will attempt to spread this sense of the triumphant spirit of Scorpio out into the consciousness of humanity. Our thoughts can make a difference, and especially our thoughts together as a group can make a big difference. So we have to believe in the power of consecrated thought undertaken together as a group. It can help, and humanity needs help at this time, so that it does not succumb to its own dweller on the threshold. Excuse me. So we begin. And we become comfortable, yet alert, and we withdraw our consciousness from the personality and its vehicles. We know that we have the body and the vital field, but they are simply our instruments. We are not them, they are our instruments. I have my feeling states, my sentiency, my emotions, my desires. I have them, but I am not them. detach. And I have my lower mind with all of its thoughts, thought forms, many repetitive tapes going on and so forth, but I am the thinker and not the thought. I am the master of the thinking process. I am none of those things which constitute the familiar self. Of course, yet ultimately one is everything, but for practical detaching purposes, I am not those things. Not those vehicles. I am the observer. I am the point of consciousness. I am the point of being consciousness. And that point is one point, everywhere, the same point. Interesting about points, they have no dimension, yet they're all one thing. And the greatest point includes all other points, and yet there's only one point. I am that point of being consciousness. We try to feel our detached nature, and yet united to each other in one soul and the sense of one being. The other things fade out, and I am the soul within the field of light and love and spiritual power. The soul presence is more real to me even than my personality presence right now, because it has faded in and the other has faded out. So we begin to merge into the group soul. Wherever we are geographically, it makes no difference. We're all one being present to each other. And we are united not only with each other, but with all the men and women of goodwill in the world, all the new group of world servers, the points of quite bright light scattered here and there across the globe, and the many men and women of goodwill with whom we have a connection even though we don't know them personally. And really with all human beings everywhere as souls, in the body, out of the body, all the billions, how many billions there are, we do not know for sure. Some say 60 billion, but that may be a solar systemic number, could be less. But somehow we touch them all. Not only touch them all, if we went deeper, we are them all. There is one humanity, and we gradually learn to identify with every human being, at least in the soul and spirit aspect, beyond the range of separation. The one soul of humanity, and in this we realize the ancient second ray mantram, naught is but me. That's quite a statement, really. Naught is but me. It requires a great disidentification from what we think we usually are, even from what we think we are in a higher sense. It's really a spirit identification along the second ray line of realization. Naught is but me, in the larger sense, the me. We are the soul, and we are strengthened. We are strengthened in our mental focus on the plane of mind, within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light. Let the group stand. We are strengthened by the will of the soul. All of us feel one mental illumined focus together in the light of the one soul, and strengthened together by the will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, and the will to express. We absorb these aspects of soul, will, and together we are infused by them and possess them. We are a point of light upon the mental plane. We are a point of group light, standing steady in the light of the soul. And in the love of the soul. And in the sacrificial will of the soul. These we possess together. We are all imbued with these qualities of the soul, the will qualities of the soul. And this allows us to build our rainbow bridge of multicolored light according to the rays towards, really inward, we can say upward, but inward towards the spiritual triad, this non-local sphere, building in two colors, each of us, the soul and personality colors, toward the abstract mind, planetary mind, let's call it, toward the Buddhic sphere, the Buddhic permanent atom, let's call it planetary love, building towards the point of planetary will, the atomic permanent atom and the vehicle which will form as we move on, will be coordinated. The center exists, but the coordination is not complete. But our two colored streams, according to our soul and personality ray, are reaching into these spheres. Red for the first ray, indigo the second, green the third, yellow the fourth, orange the fifth, rose the sixth, and violet the seventh. There are other colors, but these will do. And upward or inward towards that point of blue-white light that symbolizes the monad. The monad with its home in Shambhala, within the one fundamental school, which is Shambhala. Together we can touch these higher planes. We invoke them, they are evoked. We stand as if within the thought, the wisdom, the will of the spiritual triad, and within the pure being of the essence of the monad. This can touch us. Together. And the multicolored strands of the conical rainbow bridge, the bridge going into the center of the sphere, all the colors of the rainbow, we will sound the Om, projecting, using the second ray word of power as it is the synthetic ray for our solar system and planet. We will project and we will say inwardly, I see the greatest light. I see the greatest light. As we sound the Om outwardly and project inwardly with the thought phrase, I see the greatest light. See the greatest light. And for us that greatest light is the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. It's pouring forth from the one fundamental school, from the monad, from Shambhala, which we can imagine the greatest light. Shambhala may be the first ray center, but it's on the second plane, thus giving the combination of the first and second rays. Really of all the rays, but those two particularly. And we are empowered by this greatest light. And that, of course, brings us into the range of activity of the Great White Lodge, which is always receiving impression from Shambhala, and which is carrying forth the plan and as much of the purpose as they can contain, and is much closer to the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala than we can be, but we approach together and identify with our elder brothers and salute them in solidarity of intention and willed cooperation. We try to feel the reality of the Christ of the spiritual hierarchy, infused by the shambhalic power. They are real, they exist, we are cooperating, we're doing our best as the ashramic life increases to carry forth, carry out the will of the hierarchy and of the masters at the center of the ashrams. Scorpio can help strengthen us to carry out that will. This great first-ray power of Scorpio, along with the fourth. So we salute, express our solidarity with the elder brothers, and our gratitude, our salutations go out to the masters and to the head of the hierarchy, who is the Christ. To the Christ, the master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work at this time. This Master M, K, H, and D, K. Oh. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, the coming Christ of the age of Capricorn, and the one whose ashram does most now to prepare for the reappearance of the Lord Maitreya. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, who has given us the blue books, who is training the aspirants and disciples for initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Imaginatively, we raise our thought to Shambhala, to the center where the will of God is known, and with the deepest reverence and as a group, identified as a group soul. In all humility, we attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of Shambhala, the center of will and purpose. Be impressed by purpose, impressed by the divine will, as much as we can as a group, because only in group formation can Shambhala truly be approached, at least at our stage of evolution. And so a long, silent inner Om is sounded. A silent Om as we imagine the group imbued with his energy. And so, now we are aligned from top to bottom, at least imaginatively, and we will imagine ourselves to be that point of light, of love, of power, infused by these higher triadal energies, impressed by as much of divine purpose as may be possible for us to register. The golden band of light stretches towards the center of the indigo sun. Before us, the golden band of light stretches towards its destination, the indigo sun, the very center of the head, the cave in the head, the door to the inner worlds. And we, not as personalities, but as a point of spiritual light, love, and power, we travel along the shortening band of golden light. We travel with it as it shortens, and is absorbed, as are we, into the great indigo sphere, center of the sun. We are in together the indigo sphere, suffused with this second ray energy, the major indigo color of our solar system and even our planet at this time. And as if in the presence of our guide, Master DK, that expert in planetary and solar and hierarchical energies, whose consciousness can help us make the connection with the energies now available. And these will be the energies of Mars, of Pluto, of Mercury, of the fourth ray, of the first ray of Scorpio, and we, as if, are imbued with this consciousness, becoming a point which is an outpost of the consciousness of Master DK as our guide here, to help us understand the spiritual qualities emanating from the rulers of Scorpio at this time. Mars, the exoteric ruler, conveying the courage to face the outer opponent. And there are many. And Mars, the esoteric ruler, conveying the courage to struggle for the sake of a high ideal, and to confront as well the inner opponent, the constellating dweller on the threshold, whose full constellation, whose full form we do not see for a long time, only an occasional glimpse of the entirety of the unredeemed nature. And Mercury, the hierarchical ruler, conveying the disillusioning power. We want to be disillusioned in that way. Conveying the disillusioning power of Buddhic illumination, of pure reason. Illusion is so close to us we don't realize how immersed we are, and thus with glamour and thus with Maya. It takes so much to extricate ourselves through detachment from illusion, glamour, Maya. The three major heads, we might say, of the three-headed dog, Carabus, working out his 9 heads in Scorpio. And also, we will be led into Pluto, special ruler, conveying the power to destroy, to cut, to sever, that which binds the inner consciousness to illusion, glamour, and Maya. It could be considered a malefic planet, only malefic to those who are identified as the personality, but a benefic to those who wish to identify more fully as the soul. So we will, as it were, with Master DK's fusing guidance, enter these auras of Mars, of Mercury, of Pluto, and then of the Sun, and then of Scorpio itself, and beyond. So here is our first objective. The power of Mars in relation to Scorpio. Firstly, to strengthen the will to confront and overcome the enemy without. Everyone has to undergo this. They're not only inner enemies, they objectify. Master Morya, emphasizing the power of spirit, always wanted his enemies list to be brought to him to see whether some worthy name might not have been added to that list. The strength is developed. Obstacles are possibilities in that confrontation. So, first, the outer enemy and the courage to confront. Then to the acquisition of psycho-spiritual maturity, there will be the confrontation with the far more lethal enemy within. Master DK said, see that you battle. A nice second ray master saying, see that you battle. He has much of the first ray, he says, in his triad, he says. So together, thinking of the strength of Mars, we contemplate the will to fight to the death all vice and negativity, inner and outer, until the light of day shines forth. Scorpio, the light of day shines forth, and the illumination of all within the 18 lower subplanes are achieved. So we contemplate first the outer aspect of Mars, giving way to this inner aspect to confront the inner enemy that later we learn that is but ourself, of course. But at first the polarization is there. Mars polarizes, draws the line which is the cleavage between what we think we are and what we think we are not, the self and the not self, and the need to overcome. How strong are we? In the conventional sense and in the inner sense. Mars is presently a non-sacred planet, but we need it just the way we need the sixth ray, which is for us at this time its major ray. We need this willingness to fight for the ideal, in this case the ideals of the soul. For the soul has its idealism, and even the monad does, being on the sixth plane from below. Strength, courage. DK did say to his group of disciples, I could wish you were more courageous, he said. More courageous. This is one of the gifts of Mars. The willingness to cross the burning ground no matter what. Knowing that the consciousness will never be destroyed, nor the inner being, even though the form may be slain on the outer battlefield. And so we all need this courage. We can feel it pouring into our group. The red, the crimson red of Mars, the scarlet red of Mars pouring in, strengthening the group. We need this more than we know. All the great disciples have had it and have done feats of strength which would stagger the average aspirant, but hopefully less and less would stagger us. So feel this Martian quality, the power to defeat the outer foe, the power to defeat the inner foe, at least to start that battle with the 9 heads of the Hydra. Mars doesn't finish the job, but it certainly brings on the confrontation. Feel that flowing into the group. We need this, and we are imbued by it, and we will sound the Om together on the red note, which is often considered to be the note C. Sound the Om, feeling ourselves imbued by the power of the red planet. Our fiery aspiration. Master M says, strive fierily. That's Mars. Leading us to the self-immolation, or at least the immolation of the outer and lower self. Everyone faces that at some point. When the fire descends from heaven. So let us emerge from this Scorpio period more courageous, so many things hold us back when we don't have courage. Courage can be of a rare kind. Inner courage more than outer even. So we are imbued, and we see the wider group of servers and of men and women of goodwill imbued by the qualities of Mars, which allow especially the inner battle to be fought. There's plenty of outer fighting. We don't need that now. Inner courage for humanity. That red planet glows before us. The red symbol glows before us. We breathe it in. It's a real energy. It's available now. We need it. Let's absorb it. Then we allow our mind to go out to the farther edge of our solar system. Yes, there are planets beyond, but it's one of the outer edges, the planet Pluto and its associated planetoids. The power of Pluto in relation to Scorpio. We think together, imbued by Master DK's consciousness, supported by that consciousness which knows so much about these energies. The power of Pluto in relation to Scorpio to terminate all energy patterns which stultify and suffocate and drown the consciousness. Terminate. Let go. Pass beyond. Release those habitual energy patterns which are old and no longer serve. On Pluto, you never go back. You feel nausea if you go back. You may feel fear if you go ahead, but fear is better than the guilt. Pluto. The death of death. The death of that which kills consciousness. The power to kill that which kills the realization of the soul within the personal consciousness. So many things veil our soul realization. They must be severed from us. That upward pointing arrow of death in black and red raises all into the light of day. Negativity to be dispelled, cast out of our system. We are to be healed by the power of the serpent. We ponder on the sharp shears of Pluto, severing for once and for all the threads of attachment to the unreal. We may like it. We may think we do, and only later, when we are severed from the unreal, do we realize the gain which has been achieved through this necessary sacrifice of the lesser for the greater. It's hard to apply Pluto. Many people find it applied, but they don't apply it purposefully. But disciples do apply it purposefully. So we have to know those areas of our life where this first-rate power can be applied purposefully, bringing us freedom from all that has poisoned our consciousness. There are so many subtle poisons, you know. It's not the outer poison that kills the consciousness, it's the inner. What are the poisonous thoughts or feelings or actions? So if we have the courage, we breathe in this plutonic force into the group. It strengthens the will. We try to feel our will strengthened. You know, there is a triangle, Aries, Pluto, Shambhala. Scorpio, Pluto, hierarchy. We should emerge from this period fortified, strengthened. Without strength there is no triumph. Pluto contributes to this triumphant force. We'll use one of the, I sometimes call it a red-orange note. Pluto has much of the fifth ray as well. I'll use the note C-sharp. And we'll imagine the absorption of the plutonic energy into our group and the groups we serve in and into the wider groups. These two together, Pluto and Mars, they are the Kundalini. Combine them with Mercury and the Caduceus rises to the point of control. in the center of the head and in the brow. And so we will think now of Mercury, and we will move on together. Mercury, the hierarchical ruler. We think of it in relation to Scorpio. It's related to 3 other constellations, but now we think of Scorpio particularly. Mercury as the influence which conveys the transcendent light of Buddhi, pure reason, undimmed by illusion, really the transcendental mind, as DK calls it. Mercury responsible for the rising of these powers. Mercury evokes Mars and Pluto, which rule the centers below the diaphragm. Every one of those centers can be associated, the major centers, with Mars and Pluto. But Mercury particularly with the evocation of those fires from the base of the spine. Up into the light of day, Mercury the light of day, Scorpio the light of day. This energy is available. It is available now. More intense now. Hierarchically present now. This transcendent light, a Buddhi shining into the aggregated miasma known as the dweller on the threshold, and revealing it to be the illusion that it is, the final illusion in one phase of development. Revealing the dweller on the threshold for what it is. And once that revelation comes, we can detach. It's an illusory phantom. Because of that upliftment into the light of Buddhi, there is the drooping, the devitalization of the dweller. In the myth of Hercules, we can't add energy to it, Mars will not conquer finally. Mars starts the fight. Mercury finishes it. The dragon of matter droops. It's devitalized. And the vitality flows into the higher centers. We can reach that together. Into the light of Mercury. DK is so identified with Mercury. He is the messenger. He is Mercury. And under his guidance, we understand the higher nature of Mercury, not just the darkened, concrete mind. No, the transcendental mind, and also the Son of Mind. So the devitalization of the Hydra through the luminous understanding of its unreality. The brilliant yellow of Mercury. Every group needs it. We need it. Flows into us. The light of intuition, of pure reason, harmonizing the opposites. Brilliance of Mercury, the predecessor to the full sun. First Mercury, then the sun. So we really breathe this in. Mercury rules the air. It should be easy to breathe in. The yellow of Mercury, the brilliant yellow of Mercury, illuminating us, taking us out of all the darkness we have experienced when the Hydra ruled. We don't need to be ruled by that Hydra. We can rise. As the Kundalini rises, as the Caduceus rises, so our consciousness rises, so the Phoenix rises into freedom on the Buddhic plane. We breathe it in. This freedom of the liberated mind, the liberated intuition, the liberated pure reason, seeing through the illusion, life to consciousness, no longer death. We will sound the note E. There's so much of the fifth ray of Mercury from a very high level. The E is the Buddhic note, and the E is the yellow note, and the E is associated also with the fifth ray through its color yellow, one of the associations. The monadic ray of Mercury, one of those monadic rays, the fifth, and its fourth ray, soul, through the color yellow. We'll breathe in Mercury for the triumph over illusion. We all need that triumph. We'll use the note E. And all the octaves above. I sounded the low note E, but imagine the octave above and above and above, all the E's, revealing the higher vibrations of Mercury. The brilliance of the illumined mind, the intuitive mind, the transcendental mind, which sees the truth as it is and is no longer veiled by any of the 18 lower subplanes, especially the mental subplanes. The darkened concrete mind know the intuitive transcendental mind. Even the nirvanic mind of Mercury, as the Buddha had it, the atmic nirvanic mind. So there they are, the three. Mars, outer and inner, Pluto, healing, purging, Mercury, transcending, uplifting, revealing. These are the instruments of triumph at this time. Let's each one of us see if we can have a little triumph, even a little triumph, over some flaw, some fault, some vice. On some level, whether physical, astral, mental, some triumph. We shouldn't leave Scorpio until we've had some triumph. And out of the many little triumphs, the great triumph grows. Not only the triumph of the fourth initiation, which is climactic for man, but triumphs beyond. On this never-ending antikarana in our solar system, having so much to do with Mercury, the planet of the antikarana, leading us eventually right into the sun, winging our way into the sun, into the heart of the sun, into the central spiritual sun, one day, returning as solar angels, so many of us winging our way into the sun via Mercury. Liberation lies ahead. We just have to fight the good fight, engage in struggle, engage in battle, and have the illumined mind to overcome all the illusions which make these lower battles so compelling. Yes, it's the sun that will be led into the great blue logos, the heart of love, the heart center in the cosmic logos. Every one of us a unit of love, a unit of Buddhi, every one of us because we are within this solar system. The triumph leads into this great encompassing indigo love in our solar system. God is love, God is a consuming fire, God is the consuming fire of love, and so are we. When love is burning within us, in that way the fourth initiation will be taken. It's the 4 into the 2. And so we prepare for that sacrifice. One day. Better done together. Better ascending together. Faster together, more effective together. Treading the Syrian way of Scorpio together. Hierarchies, Scorpio, Sirius. And towards the constellation Scorpius itself. The constellation is often called Scorpius, we often call it Scorpio. Into the light of day of the transcendental mind. This light is the place where 3 lights meet. The light of form, the light of soul, and the light of life. What a blaze. They meet, they blend, they rise. We oftentimes think of Scorpio as darkness, but in the 5-fold meditative process beginning with Leo, Scorpio, interestingly, represents illumination. The 8th petal of the egoic lotus, where sacrifice really takes over and the second initiation can be taken. So many of us face that, using Scorpio to achieve it. We all have to learn to use it. Whether or not we have Scorpio in our chart, we will have it every month, once a year. And through our progress moon periods, we will have it. We can use it. Now is the time to know what Scorpio is and to use Scorpio. So feel now that energy quality of Scorpio, its profound relation to the 4th ray of harmony through conflict. At first so much conflict, and then later the beauty of harmony. The 6th ray of Mars, the 1st ray of Pluto, the 4th ray of Mercury. The 1st ray again of Scorpio and its 4th ray. And so these familiar words, which we will together ponder in silence. It's a magnificent constellation. You've probably seen it in the night sky. Well, not so much during the actual month because it will be veiled by the sun, but later you'll see it. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. We are all warriors, we are human beings, we are therefore warriors. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant, whatever your battle may be, whatever humanity's battle may be, whatever the battle of our planet Earth as it seeks to find its rightful place in our solar system. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. Somewhere there is a hydra head, or more than one. There are 9 that we know of, and there are many more. You can name your own. Warrior am I. And from the battle with that Hydra head, and eventually with the whole Hydra, I emerge triumphant. What is it for you? Is it sex? Is it money? Is it comfort? Is it fear? Is it the love of power? Separativeness? Is it hatred? What is it? Is it pride? Is it separativeness? Is it cruelty? Or some combination of all of these? What is it? Warrior am I. And from the battle I emerge triumphant. Fight the good fight and don't give up. Everyone has a battle on their hands. Master DK's words, see that you battle. The victory. Does everybody have to see it? No. It's often the hidden victory which is the most powerful, and only you know about it. Warrior am I. And from the battle I emerge triumphant. Overcoming something. Repeat to yourself, what is it you're overcoming? Almost like a mantra. Overcoming, what is it? One day the Hydra has to lie at your feet, dead, lifted into the air, devitalized, all of its energy taken for higher purposes. Then the true personality emerges as the instrument of the soul, and every one of those Hydra heads turns into a virtue. And you can work them out for yourself. Every virtue, starting as a vice, you can work it out. What is it? Warrior am I. And from the battle I emerge triumphant. The great alignment really begins with the one about whom naught may be said, and for all practical purposes we can consider its outer expression, the Pleiades. And through Draco the dragon, this power moves, and one wonders, does it move through our particular solar system with its 6 accompanying major suns? Because indeed, the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, is ruled by Taurus and Scorpio, and the planet Mars, powerful 4th ray and 6th ray. And through Scorpio, of course, carrying the 1st ray from the one about whom naught may be said, but also the 4th, and into the great solar logos. We imagine these things. We cannot really touch them, but we imagine. We expand our thought cosmically. Through our sun, the solar logos. You ever looked up right at the sun, seen that flaming ball? The outer expression of the great solar logos with us all the time. If we want to see God in a way, we just look up at the sun. The inner sun. And through Mars, the red planet, and through outer Pluto, through Mercury, so close to the sun. The Scorpio energy follows. And to our Earth, whose symbol is the cross, the 4, relating it to the crucified heart and to Scorpio. Also to the winged heart and to Scorpio. Down into Shambhala. There's a great power, the power of destruction, but destruction of that which kills the spirit and consciousness. And into every monad, if we can feel that at our very center, and in the jewel in the lotus, this radiant and destructive and restorative power, power of life, into every soul, into the hierarchy, into all the masters, into us as souls, down into our chakra system, all the group members, having its place in the head center, of course, like all the other constellations. Through the crucified heart, and through all the centers below the diaphragm, anchoring in the base of the spine, all the way imaginatively from the one about whom naught may be said. Just look up at the Pleiades at night. There it is. And follow, if you can, the different constellations, and down through the sun and the planets, visible or invisible, and into our Earth, and right here, into our groups and into our energy system. The real energy descends, it descends. Sometime we have to realize that this is real energy. It's right here. We are used by it, and we can learn to wield it together. So great power is descending these days, and we're just not far from the full moon, really. This power should intensify. Think of the Scorpio energy as you receive it. Think of it in our group form. Where does the world need it? Look out into humanity. Look out into what we're doing and all those places of trouble and distortion and glamour and illusion. Look out, and where would you apply the higher parts of this Scorpio energy? Where would you apply it? Find a place to apply it. Visualize it. Where is this power of overcoming negativity and of triumph needed? Where is it needed? Not only in your own life, of course it's needed there, but where in the world is it needed? Visualize it flowing into that place and correcting things. We'll sound a note. We'll use the note G, which, interestingly, actually works out as a Scorpio note from one way of counting. It's a second ray note. And we'll visualize this redemptive energy of Scorpio, this uplifting energy, triumphant energy flowing into those places that you see as needing this corrective. And as you sound the note, we'll sound it 3 times. Just visualize the good emerging out of the bad patterns which you have seen. Visualize this, and maybe, if you wish, say a mantra of your own making as you see the corrective energy flowing in, helping humanity in those conditions triumph over the negativity which holds them in thrall. Keep your focus there during these days, and add your energy to the triumph which may seem so far away, but which must one day come. Add your energy, the energy of the group, the energy of the hierarchy pouring through us, to see the emerging triumph of humanity over its enslaved conditions in so many parts of the world. Scorpio, the ascending one, ascension. The ascending cross, the ascending heart. Scorpio, the phoenix. Every one of us to become a phoenix, entering the world of the soul, the world of the triangles, and there we see it. We see the 5, we see the 3, we see, in a sense, the 6. Ascending. and yet forced to objectify every virtue, right on the physical plane, ruled by the number 3. So together, in this alignment, seeing the great powers of light, love, and power working through us as a group and through the new group of world servers and all men and women of goodwill, coming from the hierarchy and ultimately from Shambhala, we pour this out in the great invocation, pour it forth in the great invocation, building up towards the actual time of the full moon. We will together sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So we are building towards the full moon. The exact moment in GMT time is 3:15 and 42 seconds p.m. GMT. So subtract 8 hours if you're on the East Coast and West Coast rather, and 7 for Mountain Time and 6 for Central Time and 5 for Eastern Time, wherever you may be. 3:15:42 p.m. and Tuya will be giving an exact full moon meditation service with music. It's going to start at 2 p.m. GMT, last for about 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, and will embrace the exact moment of the full moon. I've sent the link to all of you who are on this list, but if you don't have it, please write me. I'll get it to you. Infinitize8 at AOL at gmail.com. So, friends, hold that point of tension. Hold that point of tension. It's a powerful full moon. This eclipse, it's, the superstorms we're having, superstorm occurring with this eclipse of Saturn. We have a big job ahead of us, but fortunately, Scorpio has a tremendous power which we can absorb and which we as disciples need to absorb. We're strengthened by the hierarchy, strengthened by the fourth grade of hierarchy as well. We can become stronger in group form than we are now and better instruments for the great ones. So, with all blessings and appreciation for you showing up, we got about 65 of us or 66. It's very good. Build towards that point of tension, which is the full moon, and we'll be thinking about you at that time. And hopefully some of you will be able to join our broadcast at 2 p.m. GMT. Okay, all the best, and we'll see you before long. It's a great point of strengthening. We'll see you at the time of the full moon. One being, one consciousness, represented in one manifold activity on behalf of the hierarchy for humanity. Okay, all the best. We'll see you now.